Welcome to Talk to Brazil with Tom Reaoch, the business connector to business in Brazil. Welcome to Talk to Brazil, the Business Connection, a leading Brazil business podcast talking about business in the world. I'm Tom Reaoch, an American living in Brazil, known for business networking, and talking from my podcast studio in Campinas, São Paulo, Brazil. Today's guest is Victoria Mendes, and she's talking with us from Lafayette, Louisiana, in the United States. Victoria and I connected a few days ago on LinkedIn, and I've learned a lot about her in these few days. Victoria is from Campinas, where she studied, played soccer as an adolescent, and through both the books and the soccer ball, she received a full NCAA scholarship to study and play university-level soccer in the United States. She recently graduated with a BS in Business Administration and Management and started an MBA in Finance at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. Victoria is also a member of the Lafayette Women's Chamber of Commerce, president of Net Impact, a volunteer student organization at UL, to help local businesses assess their performance as it relates to civic engagement, social diversity, equity, inclusion, and sustainable business practices. She also works as a graduate assistant at the university. So with that, Victoria, thanks and welcome to Talk to Brazil, the Business Connection.
Good morning, Tom. Thank you for the invite. It's really nice to be here talking to you today.
For me it is. And I've seen you've had an extremely intense period in a foreign country, leaving Brazil, going to the States, living and working in another language, studying, practicing, playing as a goalkeeper, with all of the stress of knowing you're the last stop in front of the goal, right? So
yes.
How did you keep your head together? How do you ever relax?
Well, my undergraduate years, I didn't really have a lot of time to relax. I was just focused on getting good grades and keeping my scholarship with soccer. And so majority of the time that I would relax would be either eating at the cafeteria and talking to my family, or like watching something on YouTube, or just trying to create a family here too. I tried to meet people that could support me through those 4 years away from home, and that was a big thing that helped me get through it.
Yeah, but that's really intense, and that's all in a different language, because obviously having a sports scholarship, you have to maintain academic level of credits too. So it's not just playing. You have to study and you have to get good grades. Yes.
Yeah, well, the first year, actually, I'm going to tell you a fun story. Every single class that I would be in, I would take notes, but sometimes I had to translate my notes to Portuguese to actually study them. So my first year with English was very challenging. But after that, I started to improve my English and my communication. I didn't have a perfect English when I moved here. I learned English by myself until I was 15. I only had classes, English classes, whenever I was 15. I got a scholarship to study with this private English teacher through soccer. And she helped me a lot. I'm very thankful for her. And then I got my grades, my English grades on the TOEFL examination to come to the U.S. And then after my first year, it was much easier to communicate and all that. But yeah, it was hard.
But then the second year, third year, fourth year, now you've graduated, you have a diploma, right?
Yes.
Started an MBA. So now it's just literally a piece of cake, right?
Yeah, now the English is a piece of cake. It's just now it's just being a good student in the MBA level, which is different from undergrad. But yeah, just study a lot and work a lot. That's all.
No, obviously, I don't want to say that playing in a sport and soccer specifically, language can help, but it's not an impediment. The game is a game, and you understand the game, and there your physical attributes, your mental attributes come into play more than what you need to say. You do need to listen, right? The coach will give you some ideas and what have you. So was it easier to play soccer in the States or in Brazil?
It was easier in Brazil. It was much easier in Brazil because I could communicate better. here, I mean, the level is different. The soccer here is different. It's more physical, and Brazil is more technical. But the communication aspect of the game, I had a harder time in the U.S. So a couple of times my coaches will be like, "You need to talk more, Victoria. Like you need to give better explanations and instructions to the defense and all that." And I'll be like, "Yeah, but I'm thinking about this in Portuguese, and I can't tell them."
Well, that's important. Most people, and after I saw more about you, I really started thinking when I saw that you were a goalkeeper. Most people aren't aware of that. But really, it's not that you're just standing in the goal. The goalkeeper, from what I see, is the person that has a strategic view of the game. You see everybody.
Yeah.
The strikers, the attackers, they just see the ball and they see one or two others. And they see the goal. They want to get the ball into the goal. But the communication skill of orienting everybody, and that's the defense, you're the one seeing everybody, right?
Yeah.
And so communication is probably more important than grabbing the ball.
Yep. And majority of the game, you're not making saves. So you're telling your team what to do. So definitely.
But how did you feel about that, of having to tell the team what to do? While you're in the goal, you say, who am I to tell people what to do?
Yeah, well, my freshman year, I think it was the best year I had with the defense line. We had a really good relationship on and off the field, and that helped a lot. And then I transferred to another university my sophomore year, and then that was a little harder because they had been playing together for a longer time, and I was the new person there, and also, so it was a little bit harder, but it got better with time, and we developed a better way of communicating during practice and during games. So, yeah,
well, I think soccer in the States and in the world, and I'm sure women's soccer is the same. They do value Brazilians for the skill set, don't they?
Yeah. And also it's about here, especially, it's about building a relationship off the field and on the field, and that you feel that you can say what you need, and like they will understand you during the game, because there's a lot of pressure during a game. So you have to be able to communicate in a certain way that they can understand you, but you can't really explain everything. You got to be fast, and they need to understand what you're trying to say.
Sort of sounds like business today in the world, right?
Yes. I think that everybody that had a athletic experience or an athletic scholarship in the U.S. can use a lot of the skills that you have to learn through that journey in business, like the team building, how to work with people from completely different backgrounds and having to be with them every single day of the week. And even if y'all have two completely different worldviews, you have to work together, and you have to get along, and you have to solve issues. And so you can use a lot of that in the business world for sure.
And everybody thinks they're the star, right?
Oh yeah, especially if you get a full ride. Yes.
But really, working in the goal, and I think that comes to what you're learning is an MBA in finance. And if we look at that in the corporate world, generally in business, we're looking for the striker, the guy who's going to make the goal, or the woman who's going to make the goal, right? Get the ball in the net. Yeah. But when we look at the financial side, when we look at CFOs, their focus is on the bottom line, and it needs to be on the bottom line. And generally, they're the voice for the shareholders, the stockholders, whatever. And they know they can save the game.
Yeah. Well, that was something I talked. I had a job interview, and he was discussing. He was like, "Why did you change from management to finance?" And I was like, "Because I fell in love with finance during my undergrad, but it was a little late to switch my major." But the reason why I like it so much is because if you don't have a good financial management, or like you don't know really what you're doing in the financial aspect of your company, you can't have a mission of being good to all of your stakeholders, or trying to develop the best cell phone, or like the best computer, or the best service, because you don't have the funds to do that. Right. And in the end of the end of the day, you have to generate profit and you have to be able to develop anything you want. So to be able to be a good company to all of your stakeholders, you have to have a good financial management. So that's why I really enjoy finance.
So really, the one side is to have the profit, the other side is to protect it, right?
Exactly.
And that's the story of your goal, right? So actually, you feel a winner when the game ends with no goals by the opponent.
Yeah. That's exactly it. That's exactly right. I have never thought about this way, but you're right.
Or saving the penalty shot at the end, right?
Yep.
Then you're a hero. Everybody wants your picture and they all pick you up and say you're fantastic. Is that it?
Yeah. That's exactly right.
But that's a good skill set. How do you enjoy being a goalkeeper?
Yeah, I did, but that's a funny story too. I started playing soccer late in my life. I was 13, 14 years old whenever I found out that there was a soccer team for girls. And
this is in Brazil, here in Campinas.
Yeah. In Campinas, yeah.
Okay.
And that's when I joined it. And whenever I joined it, I was like, yeah, I want to be a forward.
I want to make a goal, right?
Yeah. And they're like, oh, it's a little late for that, but sure. But I wasn't really good. And there was one tournament and we didn't have a goalkeeper for that tournament. And I said, well, I was the last one to join the team. Let me try. And if I do well, I'll play in the goal. And because we didn't have anybody and you can't go to a tournament without a goalkeeper. Right. So I remember while we were playing and they put me there and everybody was like, Victoria, you're not a goalkeeper. And I was like, let me try. What if I'm good? What if I can do it? And then I went in the goal and I was able to save balls. So they're like, okay.
You're the hero.
You're the they're like, okay, you're the goalkeeper. And then from then I just played on the goal. Played in the goal until now, and I was never a forward. I was a goalkeeper.
No, but that's interesting because many times in life opportunities pass and we never see them or take advantage of them.
Yeah, that is true.
And sometimes they just pop up and go in a question of seconds. So the fact that you can equate it and you did that, you can see where that led you to a scholarship in the States.
Yeah, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for soccer.
But how did you adapt to a university in the States? You mentioned the language, one is sports, but how about in classwork? How about with your fellow students? How was that?
I thought it was very different, especially freshman and sophomore year, because a lot of the things you're studying are things that we in Brazil already have seen, like biology or like all of those general coursework that everybody needs to do. So that was different for me. I didn't really understand why we did that, but now I understand the idea behind it. Mm-hmm. But during my undergrad, I did we didn't have a lot of group projects during my freshman and sophomore year. So the majority of the interaction was basically like, oh, are you understanding this chapter? Mm-hmm. I'm not. I'm struggling a little bit. Let's meet at the library. So a lot of things. I met a lot of friends in school because of studying together at the library or at study hall that all the athletes had to be in for a couple of hours a week. So that's when, after sophomore year, that's when people realized I was a good student. And then
and not just a good soccer player, right?
Yeah. And then at junior year, people reached out to me and say, hey, can you please explain accounting to me? Can we meet up and can you teach me? And then I would tutor a couple of students and help them out. And that would be beneficial to me because I would be learning while teaching them. Right. So that was a very present thing in my undergraduate experience. And now for my master's, it's all different because of COVID. Mm-hmm. And it's all, we have a lot of group projects, but because of COVID, we're having to do everything through online, so video chats and all that. So it's a little different, but
that's the real world to that. That's the whole world. So.
Yeah. It's definitely a good experience for how the business world is right now. Definitely.
Well, really, the business world has been that way. When you're talking about global corporations, they've been remote, they've been global team working, they've been online for years. So if you have business in Brazil, the States, China, India, France, Germany, wherever, and you have groups of people everywhere, somebody's, it's 24/7. People working online everywhere all the time, and you need that. That's a skill set you need, irregardless of COVID or not. So from your time there, you picked that up well. Now you're step two, the MBA. So you just decided to stay in Lafayette, continue, had another opportunity. You don't play soccer anymore, do you?
No, I can't play anymore because we only have 4 years of eligibility to play for NCAA. So after my senior year, I couldn't play anymore. And what happened was during my last semester of undergrad, I was working for a professor here as a student worker. And she has a GA position for her department. Mm-hmm. So while I was working with her, she liked me and she liked how I work and how I do my job. And she was like, hey, would you like to get your MBA at UL? And I was like, I have never thought about it, but yeah, that would be a nice thing to do. Definitely. She was like, all right, why don't you become my GA? And I was like, oh, really? She was like, yeah. I was like, okay. And as a GA, you get all of your tuition and all of the cost of you attending the school paid for, right. And they pay monthly, so you can pay your expenses working and pay your school working. So that was a great opportunity for me, especially now. And so I stayed here because I got offered a graduate assistant position, and now I'm pursuing an MBA degree. So
that's a win-win for everybody.
Yes, definitely.
But you miss playing soccer?
I miss the team. Like, I miss being in a team. I miss things I didn't think I was gonna miss. I miss like our physical testing. I miss our personal record days and the strength and conditioning aspect of soccer, even more than just the game, because it was so challenging, and we were pushed to a standard that I've never been pushed before physically, but all the team was going through it together. So it was really nice. It was like we were pushing each other, and our coach was awesome. I learned so much from her, and she was one of the people that helped me become the person I am today. So good. I missed it a lot.
No, you mentioned the difference between soccer in Brazil and the soccer in the States, and you said it's more physical. But now you've said that most of the training, a lot of the training is to help you be physical.
Yes.
Is that also the difference between Brazil and, say, soccer in the States?
Yes. Well, it's different because here you have a person that is responsible for your strength and conditioning. In Brazil, you don't have, at least when I was playing, we only had one coach, and he was responsible for everything, And then here is different. You have a person that takes care of your food, your nutrition. You have a person that is your take care of recovery, and you have a person that is your goalkeeper coach. I didn't have a goalkeeper coach in Brazil until I was 17, So it's very different. And then a lot of our practice in the US is physical. It's like, okay, let's test how fast you run. Let's increase weights. Let's do this. Let's do that. And the university offers you with all the resources you need for that, So yeah, it's a lot more about how fast you are and how strong you are, and can you play 90 minutes, then you can dribble and you can score goals. So that's what I feel like a lot of girls that come from Brazil to the US struggle with, is that. And it's hard. It's much more physical here than it will ever be, I think. In Brazil, it's different. It's
if you take not only soccer, but all sports in the States and all university sports, and you say the NCAA, you have all categories of sports. And sports at universities is exactly the entry point to professional level sports. So everything you just mentioned is part of how professional athletes are, with specialization, specific training, with what you just mentioned. So it's a common path. And what you see, too, now in your MBA, it's the same thing. You have your undergraduate work, you have your MBA, and that's getting everybody ready to get into a company or corporation and to get to work. So the process, be it sports or academics, is basically the same there.
Yes. I'm really really enjoyed the experience I had here because of that. Everything is taken into a professional level. You're not average, like nobody expects you to be average. At least in the soccer program I was in, like we'd always talk about, okay, you got to be excellent. Right. On the field, you have to be excellent in the classroom. And we were held to that standard, mm-hmm. And that's why for me, especially during my undergraduate school, that there was somebody literally telling you every single day, we have to be excellent. We have to be excellent. And that was every single day before, during, and after practice. And so that changed how I see myself, and that changed how I act, and like how I want to act and how I want to perform in my personal life and my professional life and in my academic life. So
now you wake up and you tell yourself that, I guess, right?
Yeah, you have to be excellent. And one time I texted my old coach and I say, Candace, listen, what you did to me changed my life. And she was like, why? And I was like, because you kept yelling at me every single day. And she was like, well, I'm happy you're doing better now and you're acting like an excellent professional and academic. And I was like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
It's actually not yelling. It's just offering instructions in a high-pitched voice, right?
There you go. There you go.
Well, that's a communication technique. Some people need to be yelled at, and some people will handle a text message in a different way. So, and I think that's a coach's ability to adjust to each individual player.
Oh yeah,
because you're a group. You're a group of women playing together, but you were all different. You weren't all the same, were you?
No. Well, in my team especially, we had people from all around the world. Like my roommate was from Iceland. I had one of my close friends in the team was from Germany. We had girls from all around the United States. We had girls from Brazil and England. So it was very different, and it was very interesting to see how each person communicated and how their background did influence how they communicated and how they talk to people and what they value and all that. So it was interesting to learn how to deal with those things and how to adjust how I talk to other people's needs and all that. So these are skills that will never go away. So I encourage people to have an experience like this because you can take it for the rest of your life, everything you learn.
Well, I think it'd be interesting to even meet someone from Iceland because it's so different from everywhere. And I've seen some documentaries. They basically practice and work and play indoors, right?
Yeah. Well, imagine me. I'm a Brazilian girl. Okay. And I'm very Brazilian, like I talk loud, I smile, and I usually am very energetic. And then my roommate was an Icelandic girl, and she was very Icelandic. So the first day we met, I was like, "Hey, how are you? Come give me a hug." And she was like, "Oh, hello." So it took I don't want to say.
I don't think you can be more extreme than that, can you?
No, I don't think you can. And then,
well, she stayed as your roommate. She didn't leave.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
We are best friends. Like we talk all the time.
Well, that's a good sign because if they leave and don't talk to you anymore, that's a problem. But.
Yeah, so but what I'm trying to say is I learned so much from her and she learned so much from me, so it was such a cool experience. And this is one of the countries I want to go and to visit so much because of how she talked about it and like their culture and their experiences, how they live life,
right.
And now she wants to go to Brazil too, so it's funny to see. It definitely took like 1 or 2 months for us to adapt to each other and for me to understand that she wasn't mad at me. She just wanted to be quiet. Right. And for her to understand that I'm not crazy. I just talk.
No, well, that's world culture. That's intercultural communication. And
yes.
When I talk about teamwork and building a global team, those are aspects that are part of all business. And many people really, unfortunately, don't understand that. They think everybody's the same. Everybody's not the same. Everybody's different. Everybody's unique.
And that's the value of being a foreigner one time in your life. You just learn how to have cross-cultural communication and how to respect a culture that is not yours, and to see that it's not wrong, it's just different. And it's okay to be different, you know.
Oh, great experience, huh?
Yeah, it was. I'm very thankful for it. It was a great time in my life, definitely.
Well, now you're what, in the middle of your MBA? You still have a little more than a year to go?
Yeah, I have a year and a half. Because I could graduate in a year and a half, but in a year and a half as a whole, like the whole program in a year and a half, if I took summer classes. But I will have a summer internship, so I'll have to finish in the spring of 2022. Mm-hmm. So I'll finish the whole program in 2 years.
Oh, but it's good to have real life experience too outside the class.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm very happy about that.
Well, do you ever play soccer? And pick up? Well, not because of the COVID. Nobody plays anything together. But do you watch it on TV?
Yeah, I watch it. I watch on TV. The girls played. Our conference played as if we didn't. They adapt to COVID, but they had games. Mm-hmm. So I watched them. I watched the games. But I haven't had the chance to play yet. After I graduated, I took a break from it. I kept working out with the other girls that graduated with me, mm-hmm. but play soccer I haven't yet. But at some point I want to join a team just for fun, like play on weekends or something, just to have fun, have a good time.
That's good. Well, it's good to say that you're happy, you're adapting, you're progressing and successful. And the fact that you become president of an organization that helps small businesses, I think that's a challenge in itself, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and it's challenging to do what we want to do here in Louisiana. So the goal of our organization is to improve their performances, the business performance and social engagement and their environmental performance. And down here in the South, that's not really done. Like business don't really think about all the stakeholders around their business. It's more about, okay, we have a small business, we need to pay our bills, and that's it. And we're trying to show, hey, like there is more to it.
Right.
If you take care of your employees, they will perform better and they will be happier to be here. Your turnover rate will be lower. If you think about the environment, especially in the South and especially in Louisiana, it's very important. Like we're feeling what global change does to our state. So that's what we are trying to do now. We started the organization during the summer of summer of 2020, and during the fall we trained the students on how to measure, and we use a platform that already exists to measure social and governance and environmental performance. And next spring we will work with a business already. So
good. So that's real life experience in business and small business, which really is the key to success in any country, right?
Yes. I'm very excited about it. We have 5 students that are very engaged with the organization. Mm-hmm. So, and one professor that she trains us. So I'm very excited about it, and it'll be very nice. It'll be a very nice experience.
Very good, Victoria. It's a real pleasure to talk to you. We're coming, unfortunately, to the end of our time. I want to thank you for sharing your time, your experience with us and with our listeners. Congratulate you on your journey and what you've done, and I'm sure what you will do, okay?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Tom.
And the best place for everybody to find more about you then is on LinkedIn, right?
Yes.
Very good. So thanks again for sharing your time with our listeners. And again, find Victoria Mendes, and that's Victoria Mendes on LinkedIn. I want to thank our audience and our sponsor, Focus MI Market Intelligence. Focus MI specializes in market research for the Brazilian agricultural market. More about them on their site, which is focusmi.com. Visit our website, talktobrazil.com. Find our previous shows of Talk to Brazil, which are also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and many more. Remember, when you talk to Tom, you talk to Brazil and the world. Goodbye, and thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to Tom Reaoch on Talk to Brazil, the business connector to Brazil.